Kobbe and Fizz is just also just a super interesting matchup.
Absolutely. So, taking a look at some picks and bans get underway. The ever so necessary Draven ban up against Fizz, followed by a Trundle and Braum keeping it cold on the side of Splyce. On the other hand, we've got the Olaf and Gragas banned away from H2K, or by H2K, I should say.
Yup, getting rid of that Gragas from Trashy I think is good. Some carry champs out of this top lane here away, so let's see what Odoamme ends up playing. Played Rumble last week.
Wasn't quite successful though.
Yeah, he can play, not that great. He can play the Gnar too, to a great effect. And many top laners here in the European LCS have had options to lock in Gnar, but have chosen not to do it. So let's see if Wunder may run into a bad matchup here later on, because top lane is heavily pinched in these bans.
Oh yeah, it is. But you know, we talked about the Gnar possibility. That's something Odoamme has definitely showed quite a lot of. Wunder on his side, well, question marks on that one, but we'll wait for a little while because we definitely don't expect that to be the first pickup of the game right now.
Bard may actually be very contested in the support too. We saw Fizz and Vander whip out the Ashe Zyra lane, which I'm a really big fan of, but both Mikyx and Vander have also shown improvements and solid performances on that Bard, so this could actually be a champion that gets picked up early despite teams really just picking Karma. Usually you would expect Vladimir on the left side here, and then a Karma Civ or something if we follow the trend of the day.
Yeah, but they are going to focus on AD carries. Caitlyn does get the answer for Splyce, so Kobbe gets that one. And you know, Kobbe as a player, he's been so crucial to his team this split. He's been stepping up actually pretty big.
Yeah, he now gets the space to operate in, and he's actually using it. So last split, I couldn't really pinpoint a single pointer. I was like, you know what, Kobbe outplayed or he carried, and he's definitely stepping into the spotlight that his team creates for him, and he's definitely performing.
Yep. Fizz on the other hand, don't necessarily need to be picking up an AD carry at this stage since the Caitlyn reveal has already happened, but you know, people have been respect banning this Draven away. Outside of it, he's actually not looked as impressive, although he does boast an undefeated record on Ashe.
Yeah, and that's actually a pick that may come out for him because it's a fine lane into Caitlyn in my opinion. With Trap Max it's slightly harder because you get punished more from positioning, but it used to be a fine lane with the ranges being somewhat similar. And the preemptive Gnar pick here from
followed by the Karma pickup too, so teams they are still following the prioritization. Yeah. Karma just being a very strong pick, both the mid lane and in the support role in all honesty.
Yeah, barely see it mid though. Very often we always talk about flex, but it always seems to end up as a support pick.
Yeah. Splyce's side, what do they answer with? We talked about top being pinched, but really outside of the Gragas, the jungle has not been touched as much. I guess you can argue for the Olaf being that flexibility, but
I don't know, where's the Vladimir, man?
Yeah, mid lane hasn't really been as prioritized either. It's mid lane week, come on guys!
These guys are scared of the Nivea Zyra comp coming out, I guess, on both sides, but now that the Karma is locked in, I think that's gonna be a free Zyra for Splyce here. Free Vladimir rather, not a free Zyra.
Yeah. Yamato Cannon's looking particularly festive today. He's hoping to bring a little bit of color to his team, yeah. And the Rek'Sai pickup, wouldn't expect anything different from Trashy. He's actually shown up quite effectively on it.
Yeah. I like Trashy on tanks. Not the biggest fan of him playing like pure carry junglers. I'm a much bigger fan of him on tanks and Wunder on something more slightly carry oriented in the top lane.
Yeah, Wunder where definitely trying to step into that role. But this is why the meta, you know, can favor Splyce now that we have had that switch up between the top, between the jungle matchups in general. But also, you know, with lane swaps just about every game too, it's all about who can deny that top laner as long as possible. Odoamme has shown in most of his matchups that he's been able to be the one coming out ahead. And, you know, he proved that last week up against Vitality.
Yeah, and that's also testament to H2K's macro approach to the game, shot calling. This man right there on your screen probably is honestly a really good strategist when it comes to early game and lane assignments. And H2K as a team have always really adapted to that very well. Right now, they finish up the second part of their draft, and as expected, they're just going to match a jungler, one of the ones that's open. Surprisingly not Nidalee, despite being able to maybe outpace, but...
Well, Jankos seems to be pretty happy about it. At least he gets his hands on the Spider Queen, and Fizz does pick up Ashe once again, so, you know, looking at the composition right now, they've got a little bit of speed boost, they've got some flanking potential if they keep those double teleports. We don't know what Ryu's going to take just yet, but can bet it'll be something that they can start a fight with.
Yeah, they're leaving the Karma flex. It might actually be Karma mid because it does okay into Vlad. You can challenge the wave, and I think with Mantra W, you can challenge some of his trades because you'll regain the health that he takes, and you might be able to chunk him. I really like Bard here. I love playing Bard into Ashe. It's such an easy setup. Like, she has to move for CS, and she doesn't have a gap closer, so you just ult into Q combo, and she's kind of screwed. Wait, he's actually thinking about Science support.
I think they're just having a little bit of fun.
No, but it's actually a thing. Science support actually exists.
Well, timer's ticking down.
Park
Not this time, Crepo.
Not this time.
All right, we got the Fizz, and that's a bit more in Wunder's playbook, and then the Bard comes out for Mikyx, so you get your wish.
Yeah, finally, the carry top laner is still found in the very shallow pool now after all these carries got taken out. And then a tank. So stylistically, I love this comp from Splyce. They have a long-range carry on Kobbe, check. They have something where Mikyx can make plays, check. They have a strong mid-lane champion, and then they have the tank on the jungler and the carry on the top laner. So stylistically, holistically, for Splyce, this composition makes sense.
So, H2K, what do they need to round their comp out with to build something?
Mid laner, Pyra.
I mean, specifically, Crepo, I suppose the Ryze will count towards that.
I mean, if they pick up the Ryze, they have a really good fight. Their front line is a bit iffy because Elise is kind of conditional front line and Gnar kind of joins late, so they don't have anybody really keeping people at bay. But they definitely have a lot of damage then.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I have to play really heavily around the Gnar bar with the Ryze locked in. H2K will be taking as much power as they can possibly get, but that late game starts to get pretty darn scary. Splyces, though, on the other hand, can be as well. You look at those guys they've got all across the board. Nice mixed damage, and you know, Wunder on a tanky on-hit Fizz, it's going to be really, really bloody.
Yeah, definitely no lack of late game on either side, so no team needs to rush like super hard in the early or in the late. Splyce definitely playing 1-3-1 again here. They're even taking teleport on their Vladimir, something we usually don't see. Sencux for going the Ghost here to definitely opt in fully into this 1-3-1. Same for H2K. See who executes better.
Yeah, they got a lot of comfort for themselves too. You know, the AD carries got two champions they've done very, very well on overall. Even if Freeze, you know, signature Draven was always taken away, permabanned every game. That's what happens when you do nasty things to it 2 games in a row. But yeah, Wunder on Fizz. I mean, it's kind of textbook. We got what we wanted. Now, can we bring it to you with our best?
Yeah, but Wunder will likely want to dodge this Gnar matchup early. Having a range advantage on Fizz and being able to slow him and chase him down, I think, is going to be a little bit annoying. He is, however, sporting the Ignite. So if Wunder goes top with the Ignite, it ends up in standard lanes, and Rek'Sai on Trashy shows up early, they can actually shut that lane down, and then Fizz can start snowballing. That's also an option with his Ignite teleport top lane Fizz.
Well, we'll definitely have to see. If you guys at home think that Splyce can take this one away, game number 1, hashtag SPY win at LoL Esports is the place. Hashtag H2K win on the other side. If you think H2K will walk away with game number 1, it's definitely going to be a hell of a series. And the crowd's still hyped. No exhaustion here in Berlin as we get ready to rock onto the Rift. H2K, Splyce, very, very close matchup on our hands. Even in the standings, H2K might be a top 3 team, but Splyce are on the edge of it.
Yeah, and especially if you look at H2K, they saw G2 Esports get a tie, kind of out of nowhere. Then they saw Fnatic drop that game. So right now, they really want the 2-0 victory. They need the 3 points. They've always wanted it, but it would mean so much more for this team if they can use that to climb up in the standings. But they'll have to perform in some really interesting matchups here. I'm hoping for standout lanes. I would hate this game to go to a lane swap.
Well, so far, looks like you're going to get your wish unless some trickery happens, but a lot of pings flying left and right. But we have our lines of scrimmage, you know, with so many lane swaps already opening up the week, it's nice and refreshing to see teams just opting to go for the straight up. We're going to brawl each other, standard lanes, let the junglers do their thing.
But Pyra, we need to wait until 1 minute, like 10 seconds before we make that call.
All right, well, 5 to go.
Because that's exactly why people stay in the lane assignments until the latest moment possible.
Yep.
But now finally we see H2K go for the preemptive counter swap. Because lately we've seen so many lane swaps end up initiated but never matched. And then end up in a standard lane swap game. I love what H2K is doing here. Going for the preemptive swap. I wonder if they're going for their own Krugs or just going to invade on the enemy camp, and we might have a bit of a fight here in the river.
Yeah, warded out, so Vander and Freeze would see when Kobbe does move through that jungle, and they're actually keeping
if they hide in the
side of it. Going forward for the second brush here. Ooh, they could have the edge, and they see them.
Yeah.
Right as their own
Freeze, Kobbe is going to play on the right side of the lane here. Yeah, I don't think this is going to amount to too much.
Yeah, they reveal themselves. Quick volley, a little bit of damage onto Kobbe.
The whole reason that comes out early is because if they wait too long, they'll yield the push. And in a lot of these ranged matchups, the deciding factor of who convincingly wins the lane or not is the one who is pushing the creeps. And both these rosters, once they start pushing, they can keep the push. But right now, Karma and Ashe have unrelenting poke, and they will actually have a major edge up in this matchup now because they're pushing.
Yeah, it's the old adage, the strong push, the weak receive.
Yeah.
It's true in all situations, so. Dispensing that ancient wisdom, of course, Crepo. Thank you. Kobbe.
I'm wearing that shirt today. Despite you being...
that was the joke.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, the 2v2 is definitely going to be a little bit rougher despite the range advantage. But you talked about Ashe being a really good pickup into this Caitlyn. It's all about the comfort and 280 carries that are fairly critical to their team. H2K picking up Fizz and them trying to see what they can make of him coming here back from NA and not the strongest split he had back there.
No, not the strongest split there. He's shown some inconsistency so far. Right now he'll need to dodge this gank from Trashy later on. Trashy went for a 3-camp clear into a scuttle grab here to kind of defend this lane from the right side to make it so that only Jankos can really gank from Tribrush or lane, hopefully. And then he's just going to pick that up and path to the top lane. With Portal plus Tunnel, they can actually do some interesting gank combinations, where you obviously Portal over with Bard if Ashe are continuously pushing on their tower.
Yeah, it's a lot of crazy mobility all together, and Kobbe, Mikyx, they're still going to be in a little bit of trouble here, trying to catch as much minions as they possibly can, but still not able to get as many as Fizz and Vander are getting. The bully continuing here. It's not a huge CS differential, of course, but take a look more at the bottom side where Wunder's actually doing just that to Odoamme, 22 to the 18 CS. Not a huge difference again, but
you got the push going.
This is a Wunder champion. He knows how to deal in a lot of these matchups, and Odo's known as one of the stronger top laners in Europe, but still Wunder is so far not having too much trouble with him.
Not too much trouble because he really valued, again, pushing the lane early as well. Probably has enough threat right now on Odoamme with the QW combo and then Eing out, whereas Odoamme can't continuously harass him out of the lane. Later on, when Gnar gets levels, especially level 9, when his Q's maxed, he can start, going for the harass pattern with the boomerangs. But right now, it's not enough, and this is exactly what happened a few times before. Wunder goes in, chunks him, gets out, and that's how he gets lane priority. Yeah,
just little bits, chipping away, and there's no reason for the teams to try and make any big plays across the map. However, with Infernal Drake being our first, we might see a break from the lanes a little bit sooner than expected. Trashy in that bottom side around that Dragon Pit clears out the Scuttle Crab and goes on a little bit of an invade mission, but Jankos is too far back in the jungle to be spotted at this time. It really should be on those two junglers to start to reflect those lane matchups early on when we have these standard lane matchups.
Yeah, and despite not having bin chop, I think the jungler has already affected that lane matchup top, because Karma and Ashe could have kept pushing, but because they're so scared of maybe a flash exhaust from Mikyx into another tunnel from Trashy, or portal into tunnel, hang on.
Yeah, Trashy, he does find Jankos inside of his own jungle. Jankos repelling up, forces the quick flash. Trashy way too low on the health bar. That'll be a quick summoner blown to save his life.
Yeah, that's just indicative of how any Elise matchup goes. If you get hit by Cocoon, you lose. If you dodge it, maybe you can win. But yeah, again, Vander and Fizz started playing back because they were scared of potential Trashy gank. Now with the information that Trashy chunked out, they can also predict the pathing. They will likely know that he's going to left side of the map, so they need to be aware of their pushing. We could see a little move here where Mikyx and Kobbe push out, reset the wave, and go bot, and play towards that Infernal. Wouldn't be too bad of a map move. Basing on BF timing, going bot, take Infernal, have the top lane and TP top.
Vander and Fizz are in a little bit of trouble now themselves. They've allowed the pressure to start turning back in Kobbe's favor, but Jankos is in hot pursuit here. Let's see if they can spot this one out. Magical Journey. In comes Mikyx into the Cocoon. Instant exhaust, but this Bard is not going to live. Sinks the fangs in for first blood. Jankos, the first blood king, is back, and Fizz narrowly making it away.
And that's a bit of a mistake from Mikyx because he didn't know where Jankos was. Going for the blind portal here. It always looks fancy, but I think he would better off walking, saving his flash, and then he could have flash portal out on a different wall. This is always speculative, and it's very easy for us to say, but he overextended with no vision. They wanted one more wave before their base timing, and Jankos with a very well-timed gank, and the first blood king is back.
Yes, indeed. Kobbe, as it stands, having to burn Summoner heal on that, but he does nearly answer a kill back, and in the end of the day, it was Fizz who actually got incredibly low. Vander sticking around, try and clear the wave out.
Yeah, they want to get this wave into the tower, and then he's going to base. So never want to leave a Fizz here that you can hand off to AD carry, because then Vander can base and roll himself, which is, again, so they're really good harass pattern right here, but right here, once Vander goes aggressive, yeah, Mikyx makes he tries to preemptively dodge the Q by the pathing he was doing, and then he does, honestly, a bit of a greedy portal. Probably should have kept walking, flashed the Cocoon, and then went into the wall. Could have gotten out there, but that's nitpicking. Just a really good gank from Jankos.
Yeah. Bard taking the Magical Journey straight into a face full of Cobweb. Not a good start for the Splyce. Well, I want to say bottom laners, but now I'm all turned around because we're back in Australia. But either way, 7 minutes into this game, it's not a huge gold lead, obviously, because that's the only big differentiating factor. But the question is, how do H2K start to turn this back in their favor? They had the lane in the 2v2, but then they kind of got pushed back, and now they're now they're starting to turn it back around again. But this is still going to be a long, protracted laning phase.
Yeah, I mean for H2K, the plays that they are looking for, their main objective is getting Ryze in the game, getting him scaling, and then on 6, obviously some arrows from Freeze. Definitely don't want to play too close to the wall there if you're Freeze. But yeah, some arrows can really lock down his lane. Karma with flash available can always go for the Mantle W. Flash after targeted flashes, then arrow follow up, so they have the potential to go all in, especially if jungles get into the equation. Double TPs too. Remember, any of these actions here in the top lane can generate a double TP fiesta almost.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful with your engages.
Well, we've seen our fair share of those, that's for sure. For now, though, nobody really looking to make a whole lot of early plays on that. Despite the Infernal Drake, of course, just trying to make sure you can get the pink wards around the side. H2K having it in their favor. And Sencux, first time we really talked about mid lane this game, he walks right into a ruined prison. Still Vladimir. It's a matchup where once you get to a certain point, nobody dies. Just like the Fnatic Origin game.
I mean, nobody dies. I think Vladimir doesn't die. People around Vladimir seem to drop like flies in the late game, however. But yeah, in this particular matchup, 1v1, nobody's going to go down. But this late game Vlad is something we need to watch. How much has Sencux mastered this champion? Does fine right now. Even says it's all about the pressure. Whichever of these teleport champions is the one pushing has the advantage and the momentum and the time to go for a preferential teleport play somewhere else. Same in bot lane. Whoever's pushing has more room to wiggle around.
Just waiting for something to break loose. Of course, happen. But yeah, Sencux as a player has really changed his identity, and I guess it's really been on the back of the whole team. Really stepping up in a lot of different ways. Kobbe, Wunder. And speaking of Kobbe, he's just able to 2-step away from the Ashe arrow. Freeze hitting 6 right on the money. Still have Jankos hanging around for backup in the top side, but without Kobbe and Mikyx stepping too far forward, they won't get much of anything. Trashy here, meanwhile, he's spending his time in the mid lane. Let's see if he can get Ryu to bite on the bait.
Yeah, Ryu always keeping his distance. No reason to overchase it. Vladimir with still flash available, so top laner was a cheeky little attempt there. Freeze wanted to arrow into a Jankos repel into Kiku follow-up. Here we see every time Ryu uses his ulti, Sencux extra trade, he's like, back off, my farm. But eventually sustains up. It's just a trading of cooldowns every time. Trade Ryze ulti for pull, for brain push, then Vladimir sustains up. But every time the push comes in from Ryu, Jankos can at least move up into the enemy jungle here. Joined right now by Vander. So H2K is swapping up the map, and it's going to isolate the dragon for them. So they're doing what Splyce could have technically done earlier if it wasn't for that gank from Jankos.
The first team to pull the trigger will go the spoils. Scuttle Crab does spot them out, so Trashy's around the backside. Let's see if he can attempt anything miraculous. It doesn't look like it right here. Dragon 1200 in the pit. In comes Ryu. They've got plenty of backup, and that will be the first Infernal Drake. And they even speed themselves up. Helps to get some inspiration off the back of the dragon.
Get that dragon, get some more inspiration too. No, Vander, that's something you see from Karma. It's kind of, you get lost really easy if you're looking at a team fight and you don't see those movement speed bursts. But that's why people pick Karma. The Mantra E, the Mantra Shield, and Shield for the entire team that speeds up the entire roster can get you out of these binds where maybe somebody would have had to use their flash if Wunder went to throw out his fish, for example. Movement speed is such an invisible factor that very often gets overlooked, but it just shows you why Karma is one of the supports that gets picked so often.
And it shows what the prioritization is on H2K's side. Look at Freeze. He completes a very quick Berserker's Greaves after he picks up the BF sword. On the other side, still basic boots for Kobbe. So H2K, they know they can take these objectives a little quicker. They're playing a little faster, and as a result, Splyce are the ones falling a bit behind. Yeah. Not a lot in the gold game, though. It's still fairly even on that regard since no towers have really gone down. We haven't seen much but the one kill.
Yeah, barring any really outplays in solo kills or teleport plays, that's generally how games progress. You trade a little bit of a momentum for a minor objective. So you execute a lane swap quicker, you get an extra herald. You have a higher tempo in the lane swap, you get an extra dragon. You correctly identify the right part of the map to play on, you get the enemy's red buff, blue buff. The gold counts roughly stay the same, but it's pressure and it's waiting for your opponent to kind of make a mistake. Right now, Jankos is going to path in here, look for a counter gank. And Odoamme has to kind of sell his Oscar, play as dumb as he can, and wait for the counter engage from Wunder.
Wunder's definitely not taking that one. Just waiting for the farm to come right back to him. The boomerang comes out. Wunder dodges once again. But yeah, nothing doing. You hear the farm alarm Ring-a-ding-ding, so now Trashy heads towards that bottom side, and everything's still so nice and even. Big Gnar, but nothing doing.
Now, if Odoamme plays this far up, sometimes top laners know that the enemy jungler is here. They're like, guys, this guy is playing so aggressive, he's baiting me. Which means your jungler can actually make a play on the bottom side of the map. Tempered Fade into Tunnel, into Knockup. Can just be a solo kill here, but really good hawk shot here. That's going to spot Trashy. Pings come out, so they know exactly where he is. But they're just dividing up the map here. Right side now belongs to Splyce, left side's to H2K, but they couldn't capitalize on that play, so now Splyce is winning out of this situation. Good defensive play by Wunder, not pulling the trigger.
Yeah, just making sure they keep the defenses covered and don't make those mistakes to allow the teams to start to break open, get bigger advantages. And this has, you know, always been H2K's calling card.
Oh, here we go.
A little bit more smart, but Fizz, he's locked up by the Tempered Fate, and they just keep comboing him. In comes Trashy, in comes Sencux. Ace in the hole will not proc, but they don't even need it. But all of a sudden, Odoamme's there. They pick up Trashy. Fizz actually lived, so they thought they had this, but Splyce ended up losing 2 members very quickly. Mikyx, I can't even pronounce his name anymore. He's going low, but they've turned their attention over to Sencux. Vander now. Sencux is trying to chase him down. Quick flash away. He manages to get in with the Tides of Blood, but he's going to pay for it with his life. As soon as he comes out of his pool. That's going to be H2K capitalizing on over-aggression.
And that is the problem with a Tempered Fate engage. Yes, you have 2.5 seconds of setup time, but it's also a free 2.5 seconds for the opposing team to react to your play. And then we need to delve into specifics. If you go on a trap on a zone he has target, he will immediately get trapped right after. But what Mikyx did wrong there is he didn't wait for his CC to be layered. He stacked it. He stacked the Cosmic Binding onto the trap CC, which allowed Fizz to eventually just path away. And Splyce didn't commit to the play. Half of their members were committing. Look at this again. So good setup. You hit both. AD carries always hug the tower. So if you're Bard, just get them and the tower. That way you don't take any pesky tower shots. And right here, half of them are committing. And Kobbe is backing off because of the instant teleports. He's going for an ulti channel in a full pack that then goes to Ryu. Fizz survives on 1 tick, and now this play is over right now. They've overcommitted on a target that doesn't drop. And then Odoamme comes in. He can deal with Sencux. And Vander baits out Sencux's flash here, and that's honestly not... I mean, this part is not worth, but at this point, you know, when Ryu flashing in, it's a lot of flashing for Sencux, but the carries are getting fed. Really good counterplay here from H2K. And lack of... yeah, decisiveness on the side of Splyce. If you commit for that play, you gotta go all in.
Yeah, and this is the thing we were praising them for, even that they were seeming like a much more decisive team, but you know, showing that they're not quite up to the standards of H2K just yet. It's a big swing in gold this early in the game. The 2,000 edge to H2K. They have the first Infernal already off the big play they made. There'll be another one in a minute and 15. Now that they control this tempo, yes, they're on the top side now, but it's not hard to move around. And H2K, they're starting to find themselves in a comfortable rhythm.
Yeah, they're pushing out just the remains of the turrets. Obviously, in that replay, both tier 1 towers on the side lanes went down. Proof. Yeah. In case you did not believe me. Yeah.
I believe you.
It's gone.
Thank you, observers. Yeah. We got 1-1. Okay, the stats do not lie. The numbers on your screen are very real. And...
a bit of an optimistic Tempered Fate right
I mean, they got a golden minion, but Ryu was able to walk his way out of it. No teleports for a while here, but this Drake is definitely going to be the hot ticket. You can see H2K making a beeline for it right now. All but Odoamme and Wunder are actually right around there, so it will be the 4v4 without any teleports. Trashy gets caught, but he takes the cocoon under the tunnel with him. And in comes the Ashe arrow. Kobbe nets away, but he's still stunned up. Into Rune Prison he goes, having to burn his flash, and narrowly survives. So we've got Ryu and the rest of H2K now looking to push down the mid lane. But Splyce, Trashy, they're going to try to prevent this as best they can. Tower going very, very low. And H2K, they will keep the gold swinging in their favor, looking for the dragon now. Yeah, some really good arrows. Fizz has been told by Prawley to use arrow on cooldown. You have it, you shoot it. And then, if your coach is Prawley, you listen. The man does not take disobedience very kindly. And clearly the results are starting to show themselves. Big, big play off the back of Fizz being able to sink an arrow. They may not have killed Kobbe, but they forced him out long enough for the tower. Now, Splyce, they're moving towards 4 members onto this dragon. This has actually caught H2K in a moment of weakness. It's already down to 2,000, but in comes the collapse. Sencux trying to zone, but they land the cocoon on him. Dragon will go down, secured by Trashy, but will they make it out alive? Sencux, yes, they can! That's such a satisfying sound of like 3 members right after one after the other taking that magical journey. Obviously, never click a magical journey if you don't know where it's going, kids. It's very important.
In this case, don't ever click it if you're H2K, because you're going to magical journey yourself straight into a trap, and you will get blasted as a follow-up.
So H2K know a little bit better than that, a little smarter. Still, they get themselves a significant gold lead despite having given up that dragon over to Splyce. And wouldn't you know it, another Infernal's coming up again, so we can expect that all.
Yeah, this is like...
Once more.
When you get this many Infernals in a row, you just log out and you go to the casino. Just gotta use up all that luck. 50
gotta go somewhere, guys.
50 on black.
All right. We'll see how Splyce and H2K end up spending the weekend, but they've still got plenty of games to play. Mikyx, he takes a pretty big shot from a Vander. And we can see why the Karma is so heavily contested here. But let's take a look at some of our items, because the game's been actually fairly actiony the last couple of minutes. Very quick pickup of the Spirit Visage first item on the side of Sencux, so he's really trying to deny as much damage as possible.
Super standard on Vladimir. Right below him, we have honestly the standard Caitlyn build. Mikyx here lurking, he's looking.
In comes Tempered Fate. They separate out Jankos, but nothing doing.
Good sidestep there from Jankos, and honestly, respect fast from Vander. Supports are starting to do that way more, or people are just doing that way more right now, flashing the Tempered Fate as opposed to getting hit and then realizing they should flash right after. Mikyx putting the pressure in. The next ultimate cool, and he can isolate Vander somewhere, so Vander will have to be slightly more careful. Sencux right now, walking to the trade, but it's generally fine with the pool, but...
It's alright. Oh, there's a... Game of Plague.
Yeah, it's always like a three-part trade. Like, you need them to trade pool for maybe a summoner, then ultis, and then maybe they can kill each other, so it goes on for quite a while. Very robust matchup.
Yeah, both mid laners pressing all the buttons. Ryu is definitely starting to get a little bit more into that machine gun Ryze. He's still trying to stack up his tier, but the Rod of Ages completed a needlessly large rod. He's got a little more power in his playbook, and now looking for a two-man on the bottom side. Sencux and Trashy are here to defend. They get a few pot shots off, but they will not be able to secure it just yet.
Yeah, the more interesting build is just the early cowl here from Odoamme into just straight Black Cleaver here. Going for lane dominance, just enough magic resistance to withstand the all-in from Wunder, but now he's the one controlling the pace. So like at the start of the game, it was Wunder pushing in Odo. Right now, it's Odo will always have top lane priority here. With Ryu on the side lane being slightly ahead of the early game, or cause of the early game, he has bot lane priority. So that means H2K has two pushing side lanes and an Ashe in the mid lane. They can make so many plays on the map right now.
Yeah, and they have a whole lot of vision too. Take a look at that bottom lane. They've got everything lit up. Not as much in the top side, but they know Odoamme can just consistently hold the line. 20 minutes have passed. Baron hits the rift, but no one cares about it just yet. We've got Infernal Drake on the brain, even though it's still several more away. This game, we've definitely had a whole heaping helping of them. Still, with Kobbe and Mikyx trying to make something happen in that mid, nothing doing just yet. But yeah, 3-1 in towers. H2K still holding that line and still running the game in their way. But Splyce are not, to be completely cowed. They've been trying to make those counterattacks quite frequently.
Yeah, they're trying to make some picks there. H2K's respect flashing, and this 4,000 gold lead, it can't be understated. That's a very large margin that H2K get to play with. The composition has no issues of getting really outscaled. They can still make picks here. It's basically Tempered Fate versus Arrow right now into double TP, joining what's going to decide who wins the fights. But H2K have more wiggle room because they're just simply ahead in terms of items.
Very true. And, you know, take a look at where some of that gold is as well, especially on the side of Ryu. He's, you know, just taking a look at him right now. He's got about 1,500 ahead of Sencux, and that is worrying when you're going to become a late game Ryze. Yes, the Vladimir is still ridiculous, and that's why we're seeing him so heavily prioritized, but you know, Ryu as a mid laner, we talked about him on the analyst desk just before the start of this game. He's still sometimes hit or miss, but give him the power he needs, and he can start to step up and really make some big plays.
Yeah, I was giving a rather unchallenging matchup here. The Vladimir to the Azir, and did well just farming.
Yep, hasn't really had too much trouble, that's for sure. So H2K, they keep on growing this lead, but they're letting it be steady and soft, right? They're not trying to make those big catch plays. They're not necessarily looking for picks, but even though Splyce are trying, they're not presenting really too much of an edge, and they just keep moving their way in, dipping their feet in the water and, you know, making sure that Splyce is running slowly but surely out of jungle. Continuously looking for that. So another minute till that dragon, you can expect them to start setting up the vision on that bottom side, but this is a team that just doesn't stay put. They keep moving. You can see the vision following them everywhere they go.
Yeah, they keep moving because they always have the first move. They can dictate which side of the map they want to play out. Right now, they want to kind of give some cushion to Odoamme. If you're a split pusher, you really like the sense of safety. You want your own safe space. Generally,
You always want more cushion.
Yeah, definitely. No, not always. Had plenty of cushion in my life. trying to get rid of the cushion.
All right,
But
well,
yeah,
Odoamme's looking for it, especially because he's been going
he's
hard
definitely
on that top side.
Yeah, definitely looking to put pressure. Tower's already on half HP, has some wards around him, so he spots the enemies. H2K will likely want to shift their vision to the other side once that Infernal is spawning. They're kind of late, actually. Usually it's 30 seconds before that.
Yeah, and you can see they're just continually refreshing all the pink ward slots the moment they can get it. One on just about everybody but Odoamme, who's still sitting on several pieces of all of his items, but it's just not mirrored on the other side. Splyce, they may be a much improved team from the Splyce we saw last split, but they're just not at this H2K level yet. That's what we're seeing so far.
All right, Splyce got the first move into the area here. They're closing out one of the choke points with some traps here, but Wunder's not here yet, so it's asynchronous plays here. Like, either you go full commit, you teleport in early, because you know if you're here gonna fight for it, you might as well teleport in already. They're going for a flank for the top lane. Look for Tempered Fate here.
There's
They're
the teleport.
pretty clustered.
It's the flank. Let's see if Wunder can get something done. The Dragon's not finished yet. Freeze gets caught on the Tempered Fate. Wunder, he's trying to find it in, throws the fish, lands on Vander. Dragon, all but forgotten right now. And this fight is starting to go real crazy. Odoamme into the back, throws the big rock at Kobbe. And in the back line, we're seeing even more. Vander gets taken down. Jankos slays Wunder, and everyone's low on health bars. Trashy will finally fall. Odoamme on his last legs. Ace in the hole, knacks Freeze, but it does not do enough. Dragon will finally get smited, and H2K come out with a 2-for-1.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because Freeze was untouched in that fight, and more importantly, the Cluster Fate only hits one, which means the team can block the necessary foul up there. Didn't get the connection on the fish. Wunder did. Vander took that out. He dropped in that fight. The Soul wanted to drop here, and then Odoamme did a really good backline dive jump in. So
Oh yeah.
definitely a wrong approach. I think Mikyx should have pulled the trigger just slightly earlier. The TP in was late, so Splyce, they could have just aggressively defended that area. Look at it again. Like, if Wunder was here already, it was great. 4-man, 3-man chance here for a Tempered, but they wait for people to kind of spread out, and then they go too much for Freeze in the back line. The fish misses onto Vander, exhaust and Wunder. Look at all on the front line. 2-man into a wall, jump with the Kobbe, and Freeze, honestly, is untouched. He only gets Vladimir ulti in the entirety of the fight up until this point. So H2K play a marvelous team fight.
Yeah. And they walk away with the spoils. An extra 8% AD and AP. It has been all Infernal Drakes this game. That's what we like to see.
Yeah. More damage.
Oh, every single time. So H2K, they're setting themselves up for a wonderful later game. Taking a look at the damage in that last fight. And yeah, Odoamme was a beast. We talked about this guy can play around in Narbar. Boy, did he ever.
And Kobbe tried to carry the fight. 3,000 damage output is honestly very high in a losing fight. But if Splyce kited more towards hang off, Freeze caught, teleport.
On Golden, in comes Trashy. They're looking to see if they can get the catch, and Freeze is frozen in place before taking out. The fish is on to Vander, and there's even more following through. They get a double stun. Vander's gone. Kobbe with the kill, and all of a sudden, H2K are dropping like flies. Up goes the spider, but what goes up must go back to Fountain. That's going to be 4 for none.
Yeah, down goes Jankos. Odoamme looking to make this tower go down here in the mid lane. That was actually an unlucky portal. Point of play if we get it, but first we're heading to Baron.
25 minutes, the Baron started. Splyce with a marvelous catch, get themselves more. They didn't lose too much, but chip damage on the turret with Odo unable to collapse on it, or get any more on it, I should say. 4-man Baron, easy peasy with no one able to contest. This one's going to Splyce, and they have made the most of that catch.
Yeah, much better. Once Splyce is in sync on their engage and everything lines up, they get some really good pickoffs right there. And Wunder, I mean, Mikyx with a beautiful Bard ultimate, and then the follow-up, honestly, the disrespect from H2K as to what it did. So beautiful to see.
Oh, it's awesome. This game, still, the little mistakes, we talked about how they can be punished. Splyce proved they are just as capable.
Right,
Let's see the start of this, though.
So Freeze, no flash, out of position, 100%. They follow up right here. Look at Mikyx. Portal has a 700 cast range, so he's trying to cast that for Sencux. But he gets it right at the tip below. But ironically, it gives him the best flash position ever to go for this beautiful double stun here that allows his team to get Baron. So he single-handedly made that play. And now we can go to the topic, Mikyx versus Nisbeth. Nisbeth would have not made that play. Nisbeth definitely would have not attempted that play, sadly enough, after a failed play. Because the biggest thing about, as Kobbe takes here, the arrow and the QSS, the biggest thing about Mikyx is when he fails a play, he doesn't care. He just tries again. Like, we've seen him mess up engages very often, and then make a game-winning engage right after. And he really has confident persistence.
And this is, this is the kind of thing that you can't often always see in the stats right away, but when a team picks up a player and there's really no, you don't know how good that player is, you haven't necessarily seen them play on the pro circuit before, and they make that change, this is the kind of reasoning that you're looking for. This is what we trust in Yamato can and trust in this Splyce squad to be able to make those adjustments, those tweaks. Small roster changes in an offseason that just had a ton of them, starting to prove why they did just that.
Yeah.
27 minutes and a half into this. This game is dead even on gold, 3 to 4 in towers. The Drakes, you know, they might end up making the entire difference this game, but there's a Baron on the side of Splyce too.
Yeah, so now Wunder has lane prio. Kobbe can push on his own. He can definitely shut off the map too with the Caitlyn traps, and Bard has his picking of any of these low mobility champions that he can pick up. Ryze, Ashe, Karma maybe. Karma not so much with the shield, I'm lying, but definitely Ryze and Ashe is what he'll be looking for. Remember, when Fizz hugged the tower like this, Tempered Fate on him plus a tower is just the easiest setup of your life, and Splyce can commit, so...
Now, when they do commit, you know, we saw that they weren't all on the same page, but by the same token, they're able to come together and make some massive plays like we saw earlier, allowing them to get this Baron, seeing what they can do with it. A downed inner tower now.
All right, they're going on to Wunder here, but we may see defensive Q, doesn't get double stun.
Playful Trickster's out, that's fine. They can't quite catch him. Slippery fish that he is. And Mikyx still walking through. Now it's Splyce's turn to really get a lot of jungle warding down. You can see it on the top and the bottom side. They've started to push H2K further back. The next dragon might be a bit of a reprieve for H2K. It's Ocean Drake. Yes, you still want it, but you know, it's not going to be, we can't obviously get another Infernal, so we have to move on to a new element this time. And the regen still be useful, but
Is it a max of just 3?
I believe it's a max of just 3.
Because technically H2K can get a third one.
Or maybe it's just max of 3 different elements.
It's a max of 3
Yeah,
different
never
ones.
mind.
I think you can have 4 Infernals in a game. I wouldn't bet my money on it.
Just not in a row, apparently. Not this time, anyways.
Definitely not this time.
Yeah.
But
You gotta cool off after all that hot action.
Alright, I just got the buzz from the master himself. Our stats guy told me you can only get 3, so
Ah, okay. Lucky
you're
guess.
right after all, Pyra.
Lucky guess, I swear. But now everyone's kind of got sights of each other in this jungle. You can see H2K's claimed a bit of it back. They've gotten a lot more wards down themselves, but they've been unable to actually clear out as much, and they're really just resorting to trying to clear out some of those tunnels instead. Still, the dragon might just be worth fighting over. Baron buff,
And this is
now gone.
This is good point you bring up. I love the Caitlyn Bard combo when they have to defend an objective, because Traps was Tempered Fate here.
Oh!
He gets caught. He's gonna flash for the angle.
And they've caught Freeze. Trashy, he was coming in real slow, but that forced a very quick flash. Wunder up and around the side will not be enough to find anything, but it might force them off of the dragon. Or not. We'll see what ends up happening. They're going to go start this one off, and Odoamme, mid-push, decides to TP in, joining his team around the side, but his Narbar is already going low here. Jankos stepping on this trap. Dragon real quickly taken out by Trashy. Can they escape? Do they even want to? Turning the fight around. Odo, he's not got the Mega Gnar, and now Sencux around the side looking for Vander, looking for Odo. He's got nearly enough to take him out, but he's forcing flashes nonetheless. And they just keep chasing H2K away. Kobbe will grab, freeze. Jankos has already gone down.
Oh, the
Ace
stun
in the
from
hole,
Mikyx.
right in the back. They found Ryu. Yamato Cannon is loving every minute. 3 kills, 3 kills, almost 4 kills.
This is
and
the
a dragon.
Yamato's dream. Not only is his team winning, he also gets a camera on his face so he can make another gif of himself. So this is like dream life here, but Mikyx, so instrumental. Another nice stun here, and honestly, Splyce, as a team, they turn it around. They play defensive, they have the objective, but they realize, hey guys, we can just simply win this fight. Sencux gets a 3 or 4 man ultimate, and then they chase, and once H2K have to run, their composition doesn't really play in their favor.
No, they're not built for running backwards, that's for sure. No reverse on the H2K train, but that's an inhibitor. At 31 minutes right now, Splyce have just taken a big edge this game. 4,000 gold lead. Let's see where it all began.
Yeah, so they have the option to re-engage. They obviously don't want to disengage too much, because they have Wunder connecting the fish here onto Vander. Arrow doesn't hit anybody, and that's big, honestly. Kobbe is getting untouched. Look at how aggressive Splyce play in a lot of these fights. Kobbe rarely gets hit, and he's using that to then aggressively flash in. Freeze did not escape there because his flash got burned earlier with the Tempered Fate. Ryu now gets pinned into the wall. If you're running away from a team like this, it's going to be incredibly hard because portals will always catch up with you. So that's why you really need to make sure that you pick the right fight if you're H2K. You need Odoamme to go into the back line, and you need Ryu and Freeze to kind of use their artillery to take down the front line. Escaping after a fight is sadly not an option for H2K.
And they found that out the hard way several times, so big gold lead in favor of Splyce. H2K trying to claim back more of their jungle, but it's starting to look more and more dire for them. Another Baron will come up in another minute, but for the time being, we've got a brief reprieve from the action. 9-6 in favor of Splyce on the kill streak. 6-4 in towers, but that includes an inhibitor down the middle, or rather in addition to an inhibitor down the middle. H2K cannot afford to fall into that trap again.
Yeah, and it just makes me even more excited for this series. Because imagine if Splyce win this game and then go 2-0. Because they definitely have it in them.
Yeah.
They can become a top 3 contender right now, especially with all the teams above them dropping games.
And this was the big question mark for a team like Splyce. Where can they challenge a team like H2K? Clearly, it's just in picking the right fights, and if they can beat them, if they can even take this one game off them, it already says, hey, we are one of the strongest, if not the strongest mid-tier team, and we maybe deserve to be in that top tier, as you said, with teams across the board now in the top already dropping today, one game.
And as a disgusting Bard one trick myself, I just approve of Mikyx playstyle, his build. He's going for like an early lockout, which is great because you want to be defensive enough to not drop in fights, play aggressively to position for the skews, and then because they're ahead, he can afford to build a Mikyx, and he can get people out of these snares, arrows, cocoons. He doesn't really go for the rush Mikyx because it leaves him too vulnerable, too squishy. So big fan of the way he approaches the champion. Everybody here on Splyce is pulling their weight. Let's see how well they can close out. Because these teams that have very often have been behind, they know how it feels to be on the worst end of a Baron bait. But setting it up yourself is a different thing here. Look at the straggler ward. Outside Baron pit, there's a ward from H2K. Maybe I'm going to ping our observers to show that.
They're not able to spot it off just yet, but Splyce, you know, they're not interested in taking the Baron right away. They're playing this out very safely, making sure they methodically are sweeping through, grabbing the vision, clearing it all away, and trying to get a 1-3-1 on. But you know, Odoamme still holding somewhat firm here. He has actually still had a fairly good game, but he just hasn't been there all the time when the team needs him. And you know, the last fight, it just really didn't work well around the Gnar bar. He's got a teleport nearly available again. He'll be going down to mini pretty soon, but you know, that just shows why this is such a coin flip of a champion sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Teleport engaged here.
He's caught, but is it Ryu and Vander that have fallen into the trap? In comes Wunder, tagging around the side. Instant exhaust, throws the fish. Vander is gone down to half health. Arrow will land and nail Wunder. Is he gonna go down? He hops, he skips, he jumps, but in comes Jankos. Sink the fangs in, that's a quick kill there. Splyce trying for the retreat, but they are getting a whole lot of damage to kite it back. And H2K decide they don't want this after all.
Yeah, having to kite through traps and bar queues is incredibly hard. So not only can H2K not run from a fight, they apparently can also not run into a fight if it's in close quarters. So they need to fight in the open space and hope to find some similar picks. Unless Odoamme is in Mega Gnar, then they want to fight in close quarters. So very conditional team fights here for H2K. At least they disengage in time, and they have a really good reactionary play, because if they lose 2 members there, they lose the next Baron.
Right, 20 seconds on Wunder, but 2 teleports burned, 1 on either side. Both top laners, Sencux and Ryu, are still going to have this, but you can see that the teams were really anticipating these quick fights in the entirety of the games, going with the double teleport strategy. There will be another dragon coming up, and it's bang on the money going to be the Elder Drake. This is actually great for both teams to try to contest, but the Baron's still being live. This forces some choices to be made.
Baron, it's usually an easy choice. We'll go into replay first here. Ryu gets
Talk about it after.
It's actually H2K engaging on the Sencux, but because he's Vladimir, he can buy time. Wunder goes to the wrong wall, sadly. So, not the right Wunder wall. And then the arrow comes in here into Cocoon. He barely survives it. Oh! Never mind, it's actually, never mind. Caitlyn's on his team. I was like, the trap misses him, but the Caitlyn is actually on his team. And look here, double Q here. Vander steps in to help his team, but he actually slows down Odoamme. And then obviously Kobbe can spam traps here. Both choke points are littered with traps, and it's so hard to chase into that.
And H2K throughout it all just managed to get their inhibitor back up. Just barely. The Elder's about to hit, but now everyone's still spending all their attention up towards the top, and Trashy
But the Warv
takes himself to scuttle.
Is won by Trashy. And that's also the annoying part, because when you give Caitlyn the max range headshot, the Runans also goes that distance. So anybody stepping in on an accidental trap just spells disaster for a team, because then Caitlyn gets access to even longer range poking these fights.
Becomes a landmine in that case, for sure. So it's definitely been a game of not falling into the bait and switch. Splyce have had the upper hand for several minutes now, but still could change at any time. H2K might be down in the gold, but they've not given up any more ground here.
Honestly, we gotta call it out though. Splyce's vision denial has been garbage. There's a ward in the back of the pit, no pink ward. Like, they have this meager attempt at a Baron bait, which they sometimes move into, but they don't refresh any of their pink wards. They haven't secured proper sweep, so they can't bait Baron if you don't guarantee the area being swept. Instead, however, they move to Elder, so honestly, H2K could just trade this for Baron.
Yep, move the battle over to another front. They've gotten an uncontested Elder Dragon that gives them a lot of bonuses, 1.5 what they've already got on their Drakes, but as you predicted, H2K, they've moved right in position. They're running
H2K's
for
too
it.
slow. They're doing it as 3-man. Like, Ryze went to the mid lane for whatever reason, so they're not burning this down. And now Tempered Fate comes in and stalls. Mistake from both teams.
Oh, we got the Baron getting real angry, and in comes Wunder around the other side. Odo is the last man standing in the pit. They have got to bail out, and this is going to be Splyce looking for the chase on Odoamme, flashing into the Krugs. Baron finished off, handed off to Splyce. They make the most of it.
H2K's inability to correctly predict the right play cost them, honestly, probably the game here, and we need to look at Mikyx again. He really reads the situation well. He gets a nice Tempered Fate to slow the Baron. Then instead of going for a Q on Odoamme, he realizes that Odoamme will path behind Baron, and he uses Baron to extend the range on that Cosmic Binding, stuns him, portals over, forces the flash. He gets everybody out of that fight, Splyce turn, and take the Baron. Honestly, really good reaction from them by putting themselves in a rather precarious position because they left H2K a window where they could have rushed down the Baron.
Still, they managed to grab everything, so Splyce in a very comfortable lead right now. They've got some minutes to work with to use this Baron buff, to use this Elder Drake to try and push in. You might very well be correct. It is definitely the game, and don't be fooled by which side the Baron power plays on. It's definitely Splyce's, that's for sure. They knocked down one inner turret, continuing
almost fooled me
down the line.
It's like, why does H2K?
Well, it should have gone to H2K, but as you said, they just couldn't do it. They've got to defend here. This is real crisis mode right now. It's a very sloppy game on their end.
Yeah. And Mikyx is fishing right here. Look at the zone from the trap. So once probably gets a fill of them again, he can just put them up.
Wunder just keeps the minions flowing down the mid. Still with that inhibitor. Sencux now. He's moving in.
This is the wave. Sencux moves in from the right side too. 3 traps are up. Wunder's challenging Nexus, so that's going to be a dead tower pretty soon once these minions arrive. H2K are looking for a reactionary fight. Look for an arrow, honestly. Fizz is having a gander. Who's he going to go for?
Wunder, he's the one who decides to dive in just a little bit early himself. Sends the fish, doesn't go, but the Tempered Fate lands onto Fizz and Vander. This is going to be the time. Down goes Fizz. Where the hell did his health bar go? Wunder looking for the chase, but it's just to zone them off the inhib. That's going to be Splyce picking that one up at a discount rate.
And that's a mistake from Fizz. If you see the Tempered Fate, you have to flash because Kobbe did the right thing. He immediately put a trap down, and it's similar to the old Zillion Bard combo. Once you come out of that Zonias, you're just instantly trapped. Fizz couldn't even flash out. He didn't have any Q assess available in his build. Mikyx wasn't in time for Vander, so because he was flashing out, being afraid that he would get double stunned. So honestly, not respecting what's coming at them again for H2K.
And they're losing so much for it here. One inhibitor dead in the top, one inhibitor dead in the middle. And would you look at bottom lane, there's going to be another inhibitor taken. We're cresting the 40-minute mark, and H2K are going to have to play tower defense.
Yeah, tower defense with only 2 towers. Generally means you're not doing it very well.
No, I think that's a fair assessment this game. Big lead for Splyce now. They make a lot of their Baron buff with still under a minute to go before it ends. Let's take a look at that all again.
Yeah, so here, like, look, Tempered Fate onto Fizz and Vander. So to get out of this play, Vander needs to Q assess the trap on Fizz. So he needs to flash Q assess because he's scared of double binding, but Fizz just like pop. He's gone. There's no time to make that play. So by proxy, Fizz should have just flashed the Tempered Fate. Not that it probably would have mattered because they would have gotten steamrolled anyways, but hey, probably want to live longer.
Yeah, it's definitely looking pretty rough for H2K as they'll try to stall out and pull a few miracles. We've definitely seen some today, but all games must come to an end, and Splyce are hoping to put the nail in the coffin here and show that they can tango with the big boys. Complete the routing, I guess, of the top teams here, all looking to lose a game on the day.
At least one
4.
So far.
Yeah.
H2K do worse, or are they gonna go for the good old tie?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Draw.
this game, like, this is the kind of game that can really mess with your mental.
Yeah, I think H2K is one of those teams that may get hit by losses slightly harder too.
Oh boy. Well, here it goes, the defense, but the minions just slowly come marching in. Looking like the good old 4-1 with Wunder up in the top side. He's got his Ignite ready. He's got his Chum the Waters. He's looking to pick somebody off and freeze. You know, he doesn't want any of that. Ryu, in comes Trashy, round the side, exhausted. Mikyx, he's getting arrowed, but that doesn't matter in the backline. Jankos, look at all the damage that Kobbe's able to deal. Netting forward, he has no fear, and he squishes the spider, looking for Odo, popping the GA, Trashy tanking turrets. This is Splyce just coming up massive Nexus turrets fall, 42 minutes, and a huge victory from the boys from Splyce.
And then, yeah, little Bard things. Everybody's tired of me talking about, but if you see a Bard click on an empty Nexus and take a portal, that's when you know he's in a practice magical journeyer. Because you always get the automatic, the game will trigger you to auto-attack the Nexus or any tower. So you need to hold the attack champion's only key, the tilde key, and then you go through the portal. So that means that's not his first rodeo.
It's the kind of thing you learn about 700.